Alex Jurado, the Catholic influencer, comes clean and talks about all of the allegations that have been leveled against him. And there are some people that think we shouldn't talk about it, in particular, this one lady on X. And she thinks, rather, that we shouldn't discuss this openly. There shouldn't be any podcasts about it, but rather we should handle this scandal like Catholics handle scandals. All right, it's too easy. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to offend my Catholic brothers and sisters, but let's just say we're going to push against the grain today, and we are going to talk about it. And I think we need to do it for some particular reasons, which I'll explain on the show today. My name is Reedman. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Today, if you couldn't already tell, I'm going to try to give you a Christian response to cultural events because we're living in an age of bad ideas, and the only cure for bad ideas are good ideas. Now, today, our show is sponsored by our friends over at Sweet and Savory. Not only do we promote the kind of businesses that deserve to be promoted here, but also, you will get more bang for your buck by going to Sweet and Savory than you really will anywhere else. So it's not just values, it's great business. And Sweet and Savory is an online or in-cooking class experience that can teach you to make some of the most amazing food you've ever had in your life. It's great for a date night, great for a group event, whatever you want to do. In order to check out and see all that they have, go to sweetandsavoryclassroom.com where you can scroll through a list of their past classes and what they have to stream online. And then you can also book a cooking class experience in person in one of their upcoming classes. So go to sweetandsavoryclassroom.com, maybe poke around in their store a little bit, buy tons of stuff. And when you do so, make sure to check out using the promo code IndieThinker so they know we sent you. Okay, so for those of you who do not know who Alex Jurado is, I wouldn't expect you to necessarily know him by name, but you may know him by voice.
Don't beat yourself up. Ask God to give you the grace to use the desires that He gave you in a good, healthy, holy way.
Now, some people tell me you have a deep voice, but it's nothing quite like that individual there. And apparently that Barry White voice did not serve him well when it came to the ladies because he was recently accused of interacting online and via text message with minors and with other women. And he just recently released a video that kind of speaks to both of these allegations. I didn't want to do a video until he had the opportunity to kind of come clean and talk about it himself so that I don't fall into the habit of just purely posting for scandal's sake or even slander. So he has spoken about these things, and now that he has, I think it's important for us to dig into them. There is a superstitious tendency, I'll say, with many Christians to try to avoid these things and to say we should just deal with them as little cloistered churches and not necessarily allow these things into the sunlight. But I don't believe that's true. And I'll try to tell you why today. But here's Alex speaking about these allegations and coming clean on at least one of them. So here's that.
But we have to address the allegations because there were very serious allegations that were made against me last month. And first and foremost, I need to address the most serious of these allegations, which is that 10 years ago when I would have been 20 years old when this was alleged to have occurred, that I was involved in a inappropriate sexual relationship with someone who is underage. And I want to immediately just come out and let everybody know that this is not true. This is false. And the reason that I actually have been silent this month, for an entire month, is because of the serious nature of that allegation, because I am being accused of something criminal. We had to get law enforcement involved. We had to get lawyers involved. And even though I wanted to make this video a lot sooner, my legal counsel advised me to not say anything just yet while everything was getting worked out. But I just wanted everybody to know that this very serious allegation is false. It's not true. And I want to apologize to everybody that for the last month has been so scandalized by it and has been so upset because of it. And I know that there are many people that have had a very hard time because of this. But I just want everybody to know it's not true, and we are still in the middle of a legal process, taking legal action to be able to legally clear my name so that we so that everybody can know that this accusation is false. But that wasn't the only thing that I was accused of, because last month, along with that false accusation, there was information that had been leaked that was also circulating of private messages between me and a few different women that were of a sexual nature. And I want everyone to know, because of what I was seeing online, there are so many people that thought that those messages were messages that were to a minor, and that's false. Those messages were not to a minor. These messages were to women, grown adult women of age. But even though that isn't anything that is illegal or criminal, it's still something that needs to be addressed, because as the public saw, I, on multiple occasions, fell into sin and gave in to the desires of my flesh. And I regret to say that that is indeed true.
First, I just want to say this. I think it takes a lot of strength for Alex to come out and to talk about these things and to actually set the record straight. I can only hope that he's telling the truth. And I get the general impression that he is, because he admits to doing one of these things. Obviously, one is way worse than the other, and it doesn't benefit him much to suggest that he did the first. But I'm inclined to agree with him for the sake of argument. Let's just say that he is correct and he's not lying. He's telling the truth here, and this is the story as it goes. Now, after I showed you this, there will be some people who cry out in the comments section or in other places, even people who think that because I'm a Protestant, I shouldn't be speaking about another Catholic brother this way, or that as Christians we should not be airing dirty laundry. I want to speak to this because I think it's actually vitally important that we talk about this. And the first reason is because of discernment. I believe in the age that we're living in, discernment is perhaps one of the most important skills that we can sharpen. And I think stories like this help us sharpen our understanding. For instance, I know that there will be many Christians who will bring up Matthew 18, will try to say, hey, you're not supposed to talk about these things openly. You're supposed to go to this person individually. Well, I don't know this dude individually. He's a public person and he's publicly talking about these things. So I think that we should talk about them. Not to mention, he's a public figure. So this is really not a Matthew 18 issue. This is a issue of 1 Timothy 1:20, where Paul talks about Hymenaeus and Alexander, and even says that we should actually avoid these guys. In 1 Timothy 5:20, he says this: rebuke publicly those who sin, so that the rest may stand in fear. Now, you may say this has to do with just a church context in particular, but I actually think it's more important than that. See, even though I'm railing against a Catholic young man here today, I do want to give a little bit of love to Catholics, because Catholics actually have a better way of thinking about this than I think Protestants do. In their catechism, they try to help discern between three different levels of things that we should interact with as Christians when we see kind of like scandal take place. Now, the first thing that they classify as scandals that we interact with is calumny, and how we respond to it anyway. So calumny is the idea of false allegations, of scandals that potentially could be false. Now, this is why I have an issue with the Julie Royses of the world, because they peddle, and the people that work for her peddle in allegations without substantiating them. I think we have a higher bar than the mainstream media. We should not just accuse people of doing things. So I don't think that we should openly talk about scandals that we don't really have facts for. The second thing that we need to talk about is detraction. Now, in the Catechism, detraction is classified as maybe something that is true, maybe even something that's scandalous, let's say, but it's not something that you should air publicly. So let's say you have a spat with somebody in your family, they do something wrong to you. That's not your time to go talk about your brother or your sister, or maybe you have a disagreement with somebody at church. That's not your time to go tag them on social media or talk about them indirectly and air that for the whole world to see. That dirty laundry kind of nonsense just shows that you lack a level of spiritual, not only discernment, but maturity. So detraction is speaking about things that are true, but maybe shouldn't be talked about. But then there is a third thing, which is accountability. Now, this is where we do have a responsibility to speak about what's going on and this issue. And I would say, since this is something that was aired out into the public and something that the individual that's involved with now is even talking about, we should be talking about it in terms of accountability. And this goes to kind of really the thing that I wanted to talk about here, which is we need to be responsible with discerning our sources, with who we're listening to, that we should hold the sources of information that speak to us with a level of accountability that matters. For instance, I think we should have some ministry standards that apply to the people that we listen to if you're a Christian. So I personally do not listen to anybody that's not married. It's no offense to them directly, but it's just that they can't really relate to my situation if they don't have kids, or speak to the situations that I deal with as a dad. Now, they may have some great things to say outside of that, but I also think that there are guardrails that should be in place for the people that you listen to. So I don't think unmarried man, like the guy Alex here, is somebody that should have been listened to with any level of sincerity. So I think unmarried men, especially young men, should be considered very lightly. It's not that you can't listen to them at all, but take their advice with just a grain of salt and realize that young men lack almost always the wisdom that is necessary to truly inform you as a major source of information. The reason this is so important, the reason you need to sharpen your guardrails of discernment and when it comes to the sources that feed you information, is that I'm just going to be real honest with you, whether people accuse me of being a Zionist or whatever. I think the recent kind of bent of Tucker and Candace is something that is quite problematic. I love Tucker. I love Candace. I think when they're not talking about the Jews, or when they aren't talking about Emmanuel Macron's wife and whether or not he is a man, I think ultimately they have lots of really, really good things to say. But unfortunately, it's far too easy for online personalities to be paid by unknown sources, but more importantly, to be captured by their audience, to do that which gets clicks. For instance, when you have somebody that wants to define Hamas like this on your show.
What is Hamas? Hamas are people who have had their homes taken from them, who, if they live in Gaza, have not been basically been in an open air prison.
So Hamas is not a terrorist organization built upon the destruction of Israel. Hamas is just a people without a home. Darn it. Well, maybe we just totally should free Palestine then, regardless of how many people are thrown off roofs. I think you get the point in the midst of it all. Be careful who you listen to. Put guardrails around who you are listening to, such that you can truly get the best information from the best sources possible. Which is, by the way, why you need to check out indiethinker.org/support, because you can find a great library of resources there that will help you take your indie thinking journey to the next level. I recently did a show on the Book of Enoch. You need to go back and watch it. I think it was really well done, if I do say so myself. But also, I found that there is a animated and passionate and vocal group of people who believe that the Book of Enoch should be included in the canon, and absolutely believe in the Enochian view, or the angelic view of Genesis chapter 6. Now, I personally don't, and I'm not mad at you if you do. However, for those of you who are quoting Michael Heiser as though he's the end-all, be-all theological resource on these matters, I think it's important for you to source information outside of Heiser, because there are plenty of people, including, I believe, Thomas Howe, who have written books that absolutely dismantle Michael Heiser's view on Enoch and on Genesis chapter 6. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean you have to agree with me. It just means this: be informed. Otherwise, you get egg on your face and you find yourself soaking in information that may not absolutely be so. As Mark Twain said, it isn't what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And so, for the sake of everybody involved, the more informed we can be from the right sources, the better off you and our world will be. All right, that's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for watching the show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you love this show, you'll love becoming a member at indiethinker.org/support. You can gain access to ebooks, audiobooks, movies, documentaries, and so much more. Don't forget to check out the sponsors down below in the description of this podcast, but most importantly, go with God.